Hi, everybody. Welcome to week three or two and a half of Composition 123. I'm Eric Levin, and I'm here to talk about the homework you just did last week. This week for your short write, you'll be doing a analysis of one paragraph of 5 sentences or longer from our text, and it's an analysis of paragraph of the paragraph so that you get to know the way paragraphs are structured with a topic sentence and then information about that topic and then leading into the next sentence and concluding that idea. Um, there's nothing tricky about this one. Just you don't have to find secret information. I just want you to go through the process of analyzing a paragraph so that you can then apply that to your own writing and think more about how each paragraph is formed to make a whole essay. That's the purpose of an outline. Generally, in an outline, you'll have an introductory paragraph, and then your first body paragraph will introduce the first the first part of what you're trying to write about, one idea of it, and the outline would have for those Roman numerals, one would be introduction, the next would be two, and your topic sentence should go there, and then talk about what you have, and then the outline should tell us what you're going to say about that and then lead into the next one. A good friend of mine who's a very good writer always said to me that the concluding sentence of each paragraph should in some way be related to the topic sentence of the next one. So think about that as you're writing. Um, we try to learn. Often we try to teach writing in big chunks, but it's really the little chunks that are important. How the sentences fit together and the process, the development of your ideas for that particular essay. I'm trying to do my hand gestures outside the camera because there's so many, and I often block my face. So look at that, and then we're going to be looking at and then think about that because as you begin to write your as you begin to organize and outline your paper, that stuff is going to be really, really important. Uh, so your homework from last week, your short write, they were really well done. Most for the most part, there were some problems, and there were some problems that a lot of people had. The first thing that I want to mention to you is that when you create a file that you're going to submit on Moodle, I need you to start with your last name. Whatever the title is, it could just be your last name. That's great. It could be your last name plus the title of the paper. Um, you have to have a title for your paper and you have to have a heading for your paper. Otherwise, if you just say this is about my summer vacation for the title of the file and you don't have a heading on it, it makes it difficult to identify. You have to go all the way back out to see what your original Moodle file was. And that starts with your first name. But I ask you to do your last name because that coincides with the way Moodle, when I'm grading, is organized. So I can just go to your last name. You'll be in order when I download when I download your papers, and it will be and then I could just go through and correct and post, correct and post, correct and post. So it saves me a lot of time. So I would appreciate it if you would use your last name as the title of your file. Then the other thing is a title of a paper gives you a good opportunity to tell the reader what this is about. So if you just say summer vacation or summer event or something like that, you're just telling me what the assignment was, not what you're going to write about. So formulating a title that kind of gives a preview of what you're going to write is a really, really good idea, and it takes practice. So it's a good time to start doing that. Sometimes a title can also put your reader in the right frame of mind to read the rest of the paper. so that they understand it more clearly. So think about that. I'm probably not going to I'm not going to downgrade you for a bad title, but I want you to think about the importance of the title in informing your reader what you're going to be writing about. All right, to the problems. This first word, a word about the way I grade. If words or phrases in your paper are highlighted, it meant there was either a spelling area, if it was a spelling error, or a misused word on the one hand. And if I highlight a phrase, that means that there's something grammatically incorrect about that phrase. And so you should go back and see what that is. That's how you learn. If I grade on a scale of 1 to 10, if you got a 7, 8, 9, 10, you're probably in good shape. But you have to understand that these are low value grades so that you can make mistakes and improve as you go along. And I do give extra credit, not extra credit, but I do when I'm figuring out the final grade. If you start out with a 5 in the first week and you're doing and you continue to improve during the term, I view that as using your time wisely and developing as a writer, because we're all at different places in writing. So the way to get a better grade for the next time is to take in the comments and really understand what the errors were that you did. I'm going to get to a couple of specific errors that a lot of people made, but before that, so if you got a 5, a 6 or lower, there's a couple of things you can do. If your paper is, if there's a fundamental problem with your paper, for example, you didn't write a thesis for your paper, that might mean that your paper kind of rambled a bit, and you're welcome to rewrite that paper and then turn it in to me the following Sunday. But that doubles your work, and I don't want you to get behind in your work because you're trying to get a better grade for your first paper. I'd rather you took into account what I said and then improve that second paper, and that's the other way to get your grading up. We're going to be doing many of these, one a week, so don't worry if one of them's bad. I will drop the worst grade that you have on these papers, and hopefully it'll be in the first week. And then the other thing you can do is go to Strunk and White, the Elements of Style, and look up the problem that that your writing caused, and try and understand how you could have written it better. Sometimes it's just word usage, that it's non-standard English construction of a sentence, and a lot of that comes from either trying to write the way you talk, which is not a good idea, because when you talk you have facial expressions and hand gestures to help punctuate what you're saying, and you can go back and repeat it in a different way if people don't understand. So you can also just correct yourself and then move on. Or you can schedule an appointment with me and we can go over your paper in more detail, and I can explain what the problems were with the writing. I can explain kind of in a broader sense how approaching the essay in terms of its structure can help you. Readers get confused if you're using non-standard English. It makes them have to guess what you mean. And while you may think that guess is mostly accurate from your readers, you don't really know that. And you also don't want to make your readers struggle. There are a couple of papers that I actually just had to stop reading because I had no idea where you were going or what you were talking about. Please remember that this assignment was to discuss an event that was significant and occurred during the summer. So if you strayed away from that constriction, then you're off topic. So if you said, first I have to give you a background, and spent a page and a half on this background that you needed to give me, and then a small paragraph on the event itself, that's not a good essay. You need to stick to the topic, the prompt that I give you, and then limit that prompt even more through your thesis. I know you may not think that a thesis is important on a 2-page paper when it's just about something that happened to you, but it really, really is. And hopefully you'll come to understand that. I'm going to say something that's revolutionary now, but every paper you write for a class at SOU should have a thesis. And the stronger the thesis, the better the paper. The more you can pinpoint what you want to talk about, the more you can be clear about that particular subject. But more importantly, if you stick to the prompt and to the paper, it narrows the scope of what you can write about, and it's better to write on a narrow topic than on a broad topic. Broad topics are easier because you don't really have to organize. You're talking about these big ideas, and those are usually, the broader the topic, usually the worse the paper. And on a 2-page paper, you have to be very, very focused on what's being asked of you and how you're approaching that. It takes some thought. So if you sit down and just write one draft and submit it, you're often going to get a lower grade. Many of you didn't proofread. You need to proofread, and you also need to go back and deal with any of those antagonistic little underlines. In my computer, it's red for spelling and blue for grammar, and you need to go back and find out what the computer is telling you. And you can either do what it says, or you can reword what you're writing. It's really important that you pay attention. If you download Grammarly, which I strongly, strongly recommend, it will tell you when you're having a writing problem, and you can go back and fix it before you turn it in. And that's what you should be doing anyway. So proofread, identify the problems that your computer, your spell checker, your grammar check is telling you to do, and fix them. Don't try to be smarter than the computer. Often they'll also steer you away from using a passive voice and have you do an active voice. And I'll be making those corrections more fully as you move forward, and the larger errors, the more important errors are not as common. I did find a couple of sentence fragments, which means you're not writing in English. You have to have a subject and a verb to make a full sentence. And some of you will take what they call a dependent clause, which means it doesn't make sense because it doesn't give us a verb. It just kind of gives us a context. And then you put a period after that, and that becomes a sentence fragment. The other thing that a lot of people need to work on is watching their pronouns. If the previous sentences had 2 or 3 pronouns, 2 or 3 proper nouns or nouns that are telling me what you're talking about, if you then say it or they as a topic sentence as the first word of the new sentence, I don't know what that pronoun refers to. So you have to be very careful. Often, one of the things that I really had to work on when I was studying writing is I had to repeat words, the subjects of what I was writing about in each sentence. I'd have to repeat those several times, and I wasn't used to it, and I thought it was boring. It's better to be precise and understandable than it is to be exciting in your writing, at least at this stage. So watch your pronouns. Make sure that when you write a pronoun, he, she, they, it, oneself, or whatever it is, that you make sure it's very clear what the antecedent is. If you don't want to repeat the same subject, you can always go to a thesaurus and look up words that are that have the same meaning. I use that a lot. So I'll write in the first sentence, Rhode Island is a state in the United States. The seaside state, which is its nickname, its official little nickname, does this, this, and this, and then maybe this tiny state amidst giants did this and this and this. But I keep using I keep using nouns that mean Rhode Island, and those you can find in a thesaurus also. So start using your thesaurus. Most computers have them. Oh, I'm over 15 minutes and I'm not done. I'm sorry, this is running overtime a little bit. I'll try to bring up new topics every time. Fine. You also need to read the prompt carefully. Many of you did not write about an event that was significant during the summer. You wrote about your whole summer. Or you wrote about an event but spent the whole time speaking about the context of the event rather than the event itself. So make sure that you are really reading the prompts carefully. It's easy to read it and kind of generalize it and go into a general essay that doesn't make sense to the reader because because it's too general and we don't get any continuity out of it. Remember that an essay, any kind of essay, is, regardless of its length, it has a purpose. And you need to state that purpose in your writing for me to understand what you're talking about. Okay? All right. So, thesis. It's the backbone of your writing. I want you to always have a thesis, and I want to be able to identify that thesis. Some of you had kind of secret theses in there but they made sense, and I could tell what you are going to be saying because of the way you wrote about it. Go for the obvious thesis if you can, write in the beginning, and then you can move on to being more suggestive in your theses. I wrote my dissertation was about 250 pages, analyzing works of Eugene O'Neill as through the lens of Thus Spake Zarathustra, which is a Nietzschean Nietzschean book that he read every day of his life like it was a Bible. But those ideas that were also influenced O'Neill and then also influenced postmodernism, I was able to glean meanings out of the plays that people hadn't seen before. All right. So, thesis. Need I say it again? I talked about the grading. I want you to remember that I'm here to help you succeed. That's my sole goal. I don't want to trick you. I don't want to test your ability to guess what I'm thinking. I want to be very clear about it. And that takes some communication from you if, as I did with your topic this week, included a nonsensical sentence right in the middle that made no sense. I have no idea why I didn't call it because I read it, why I didn't see it, but I didn't. And one of your fellow students wrote me and said, "I don't understand what that means," and they shouldn't have, because it was a sentence that I had started and then edited a couple of minutes later and didn't turn it into a complete sentence or idea. And what in fact had happened is I had rewritten the sentence and not erased the first one that I wrote. So regardless of that, let me know if there's stuff you don't understand. It's probably not your fault. If you know me, you'll know that it's probably not your fault, and you can catch me, and I will thank you for doing so. And my recommendation is to use Struck and White, the elements of style, liberally. Use it often. Have it open when you're writing. Have it open on your screen when you're writing, so you can check to see if you should have a comma in a sentence. You had lots of people had comma errors. Luckily, it was comma splices, which are a major error. But and they'll explain to you exactly what those things mean in a very concise way. If you're having trouble understanding that, of course, I'm still here as a reference. I am happy to speak with you. I'm happy to go over your papers, and I am happy to do whatever I can to help you out. You just have to let me know that you need help. So please do that. I'm almost at 20 minutes now, so I'm going to stop. If you have questions, please let me know. And if you need help, please let me know. I'll try to be. I'm going to try to post a couple of weeks this week, so that you have some continuity going forward. That was my mistake that I got there too late. That I'm posting this stuff late. So I'm going to try to get there earlier. So if that's a complaint you have, I'm very well aware of it, and I'm going to try and fix that right away. So have a good week. Do your work. And also really look at the assignment. You're going to be starting to develop a thesis this week from the topic that you chose. Okay? And if you develop a good thesis, you're not going to have to change it. So I'm trying to work it in a way that you'll be doing your enough research so that you know what is available for you on that topic. All right. Take care, and I will see you. I'll be talking to you next week. Hopefully, I'll be posting it a lot earlier than I did this week. Thanks a lot. Take care.